Je m'appelle Wendy et bienvenue à Eat to the Right. Aujourd'hui, je vais faire une soupe avec du chou-fleur. C'est un légume vraiment du saison en ce moment. Avec ces soupes, je veux les cuire avec des épices et des amandes. C'est une recette super bien pour Eat to the Right parce que je fais bien sûr, je prépare tous les ingrédients moi-même. Ça utilise des légumes de saison avec beaucoup de fibres, beaucoup de bonnes choses. J'ajoute des épices et aussi des amandes. So, c'est un exemple super bien pour Eat to the Right. Pour les ingrédients, aujourd'hui, il y a des oignons et du l'ail que j'ai déjà préparé. Il y a des épices. Aujourd'hui, j'ai du coriandre moulu. J'ai du cumin, des graines de cumin moulu torréfiées moi-même. Super facile à faire. Regarde mon site eattotheright.com pour les petites instructions comment de faire ça vous-même. Et il y a aussi du curcuma. C'est une épice très bien pour l'inflammation dans le corps. Et ça, c'est un très, très bon mariage avec le chou-fleur, délicieux. Il y a du bouillon aux légumes. D'être sûr que la soupe ait une bonne texture, j'utilise les amandes en poudre. Et ça ajoute une texture très crémeuse en fait. Et la chose qui est très importante aujourd'hui, c'est avec le chou-fleur qui est l'ingrédient principal si vous voulez. J'utilise tout. J'utilise les fleurs, la tige et aussi les feuilles. So, c'est vraiment une soupe pour utiliser l'entière. Il n'y a rien gâché, zéro déchet. Ok, on cuisine. So I just thought I'd run through with you how I'm going to prepare the cauliflower because I'm actually going to use the whole cauliflower with the leaves and everything in this recipe. So I've just begun by taking the leaves off of the cauliflower, and I'm going to just separate the florets one by one, just with a paring knife. I find this easy with a smaller knife than with a big knife actually. So it just gives you a little bit more control over taking out the florets. This is a fabulous cauliflower. They're really, really amazing at the moment because they're in season, so they're not expensive. So it's a great vegetable to try and use more of if you can. It's definitely increased in popularity, cauliflower at the moment. There's lots of lovely recipes out there, and I'll probably do a few more myself. So they're the florets. I'm going to use the whole of the stalk. Again, that's often a piece of the vegetable that's overlooked. I'm going to chop it into two, and always working on a nice flat base, I am going to chop it into pieces. So just making a bridge with my hand, and the other way. And this is quite dense, so I'm going to cut it up a little bit smaller than the florets because I want everything to cook at the same time. Smells lovely. You can of course eat cauliflower raw, which is another great way to think about using it. Maybe next time I'll do a raw cauliflower recipe. Okay, so in there we have all of the florets and the stalk, and always make sure when you're buying a cauliflower that it's this lovely light creamy colour. If it's sort of got brown spots on and things like that, it's not very fresh, so don't bother choosing that one. And for the leaves, I'm going to just strip the the green off. Just sort of roughly, really. And this is again a part of the vegetable that is often just, well, it's never used. It's just put in the bin. And it's just another opportunity to get more green into your diet. And they are full of iron, very, very iron rich. So why wouldn't you use them? So if you can get a cauliflower with the green on, always go for that. Again, make sure that the green looks good and it's not wilted and yellow. That's again a sign that things are not very fresh. So then, in order to prepare this, I'm just going to gather it up, and I'm just going to slice through the leaves. And the leaves are actually going to form a topping for the soup, if you like a garnish. Okay, so I'm going to put that to one side for later, and then with the stalks, again, I'm going to just put them together, and I'm just going to slice through, not particularly with any major finesse, because this soup is actually going to be blended. So that's all of the cauliflower prepared. I'm just going to wash the cauliflower, so I'll see you in a moment. So I'm going to begin by adding a little bit of olive oil to my saucepan. Oops. And I'm just going to warm that up a little bit before I add the onion. That's lovely. So just the onion at this time. So nice and finely chopped. And give that a good stir. And I'm going to cook that just on a nice low heat, just for a few minutes. I don't want the onions to burn, so just a nice low heat, just until they're nice and translucent. Okay, so the onions have been cooking for a few minutes, they're nice and translucent, so I'm now going to add in the rest of the ingredients. So in goes the garlic. Give it a nice stir. I always add the garlic after the onions have been cooking a little bit because I don't want it to burn. I'm then going to add in the spices. So I've got a teaspoon of ground cumin seeds, a teaspoon of ground coriander, and a teaspoon of turmeric, a magic spice. So give that a nice mix. It smells so nice. Okay, so you want to be careful now because you don't want to burn the spices, so we're going to work quite quickly. So once they've had just a moment just being mixed together, I'm going to add the cauliflower. So this is all the cauliflower which I've washed, and I've just chopped the florets up a little bit smaller so that will reduce the cooking time. And remember all the stalks in here and the stalks from the leaves. It's barely going to fit in this pan. It was such a big cauliflower. There we go, all the stalk going in. Just going to give that a little stir around so that the spices get mixed into the cauliflower. Oh, it instantly colours the cauliflower with the turmeric. Fabulous. I've got this on quite a low heat because, as I say, I don't want the spices to burn. Lovely. Next I'm going to add the stock, and before I add the stock into the soup, I'm just going to add the ground almonds into the stock. Give that a nice stir, and that's going to be the ingredient that makes this really creamy, and it'll help to thicken it as well. Okay, so in goes the stock. Beautiful. So I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit now. And I'm going to pop the lid on to bring that up to a boil, and then I'm going to simmer that until the cauliflower is nice and tender. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so while the soup's cooking, I'm actually going to just prepare the garnishes for the soup. So there's two garnishes. There's flaked almonds and our lovely shredded cauliflower leaves. So I'm going to begin with the flaked almonds. So I've just got a dry pan on the heat, and I've just started to heat it up. So you don't want it too hot to begin with. I'm just going to spread the almonds out. And we're just going to carefully toast them. It's the sort of thing that you think, oh, nothing's happening, nothing's happening, and oh, then they're burnt. So don't go away and start doing something else. It's worthwhile staying with the pan. But the most important thing in here is that there is no oil or anything in the pan. It's a dry pan, because there's natural oils in the almonds. It takes a few minutes, but it's well worth it, because it makes the soup look delicious, and it adds an extra texture and an extra crunch, which is really important. Okay, so these almonds have been toasting for maybe 3 minutes, and they're just starting to get a lovely, lovely golden colour. This is where you need to be careful, because you don't want to overdo it. So actually what I do now is I actually turn the heat off completely, and then the heat of the pan, actually I can even hear them like spitting a little bit and just sizzling. So the heat of the pan will actually toast them to just to the right sort of coloration for you. So, oh, this smells so nice. So I'm just going to put those to one side. Let them cool down a bit. Obviously, while the soup's cooking, they can cool down nicely. Then we're going to use the same pan, and I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil into that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the cauliflower leaves. And something to remember here is I've washed the leaves, and I've also dried them carefully, because what you don't want is a load of water hitting the oil, because it's really going to spit. So take a bit of time just to dry the leaves. Okay, so we're going to go in. So they're just sizzling a little bit, but they're not spitting. So that's oh, beautiful. So and you're going to cook these until they're just nice and starting to get a little bit crispy. So hardly any oil in this pan, so you just need to keep it moving around. Starting to colour a little bit now, so that's great. Almost there. Okay, so the soup's had about 20 minutes and the cauliflower is nice and soft. It's an amazing colour. So I'm now going to blend it. So I've just got a hand blender. Obviously be really careful at this point because the soup is super hot. This is a new blender, so I'm just being a bit careful with it. And also you need to be careful that you don't splash yourself because A, it's hot, and B, turmeric really stains. So 2 things just to be careful of. Okay, so I've blended the soup and it's a fabulous consistency, but it is quite thick. So I'm going to just add a little bit of almond milk just to thin it slightly. But clearly if you like it really thick, then, you know, keep the texture as is. I think because the cauliflower was such a big cauliflower. So I'm just going to add a little bit of almond milk in there. There, happy with that? It looks great. Okay, so again, just be careful. So fantastic, so there we have it, our lovely blended soup. So all that's left for me to do now is to plate up and show you how I garnish. Okay, so I'm ready to plate up. You might have noticed I didn't put any salt in this recipe. The reason being is because I use stock cubes and they're quite salty in themselves. And also with the spices, I don't think it needs any salt at all. Obviously, if you think it needs salt, now's the time to sort of season. So all I'm going to do is add a few turns of black pepper. Just to, ooh, that smells good. Finish that. And a final check. So I really do encourage you to always check the flavour of your food before serving. I think that's just enough. In fact, you should really check the flavour, you know, as you're building and cooking and building the dishes, cooking the dishes and things like that. Really, really important to taste as you go. Okay, happy with that. So got my bowl ready, so I'm just going to ladle a few scoops. You can see the lovely little cumin flecks in here as well still. And then we're going to garnish with the little cauliflower leaves. So I'm going to add a few of those into the middle of the soup. Then I'm going to sprinkle a few of the flaked almonds. Again, just go easy because you can always add a few more, but difficult to take away if you've added too many. And then 2 options here. I've got some chili flakes, which add quite a nice little extra pop to the garnish, to the soup. Or if you haven't got chili flakes, you could add a few little cumin seeds that we used in the recipe. So either is, well, it's up to you really. So I'm going to go for chili, but you could equally add a few cumin seeds. Okay, so there we are. That's the creamy cauliflower and almond soup with toasted cauliflower leaves and almonds. Bon appétit! I really hope you've enjoyed my recipe today and enjoyed the video. So don't forget to like and subscribe down below and check out my socials. And you'll find lots more recipes on my website, eattotheright.com. Salut, à la prochaine!